It was Halloween night. The streets were filled with children in costumes, their laughter echoing under the dim glow of streetlights. Pumpkins glowed faintly on porches, and a thin layer of fog drifted across the ground, giving the neighborhood an eerie yet festive atmosphere. I held my mother's hand tightly as she knelt beside me, reminding me to stay close to my friends and not to talk to strangers. She smiled warmly, adjusting the cape of my vampire costume before letting me go. I joined Sean and Johnny at Sean's house, which always smelled faintly of cats and old carpet. Sean wore a skeleton costume. Johnny was dressed as a clown, and together we felt ready to take on the night. Still, none of that mattered when I arrived with my oversized pillowcase ready to be filled with candy. Johnny was already there, grinning, holding his sack like it was a treasure chest waiting to be filled. It wasn't long before we realized something important. There would be no adults with us that night. No mother trailing behind. No sister half watching from the porch. Just 3 boys, free to wander in the dark. At first that felt thrilling. My heart raced at the thought of being out without supervision. But underneath that thrill was a layer of unease. I knew my mom would never have allowed it. I could already hear her voice in my head, sharp with disapproval. Still, peer pressure and candy outweighed caution. We set off into the night, 3 small shadows under the glow of street lamps. The first stretch of the night was almost magical. Doors opened, bowls of candy appeared, neighbors smiled and asked about our costumes. Every so often, an adult would squint at us and ask, "Where are your parents?" Johnny had a lie ready. "They're just up ahead with my sister." It was convincing enough. People nodded, handed over the candy, and closed their doors. We walked until our pillowcases grew heavy. The night grew colder, the laughter of younger kids fading as families returned home. By the time we stopped back at Sean's for pizza and candy-fueled cartoons, I felt like I'd already had the perfect Halloween. After Johnny was picked up by his mom, the darker, quieter round, by then the streets had changed. The crowds were gone, but the night wasn't over. Sean and I decided to head back out. Round 2, the houses stood darker, some porch lights flicking off as if to signal, "We're done." We pushed further away from Sean's block, chasing the promise of untouched candy. That's when we noticed him. A man, a few houses behind us, pushing a stroller. At first, it barely registered. Parents walked with strollers all the time. But there was something off about him. He moved slowly, deliberately, like he was pacing himself with us. His head tilted downward, and every so often he leaned into the stroller, whispering something we couldn't hear. We tried to ignore him, focusing on the next doorbell, the next handful of candy, but he was closing the distance. Eventually, he spoke. "How's the trick-or-treating going, boys?" His voice was calm, friendly even. We both answered automatically, "Good." He smiled. "It's getting late. I'm on my way home. I didn't get to give much candy away tonight. I can give you the rest of mine." Sean's eyes lit up. My stomach twisted. He pointed to the stroller. A plastic bag dangled from the handle, bulging with wrappers and treats. Jackpot. Sean asked, "What kind of candy?" "All kinds, bags of it," the man replied. "You can have it all. My daughter's asleep in here, so I couldn't give much out." He tapped the top of the stroller, where a canopy covered the supposed baby. The thought of bags of candy was almost blinding, but I couldn't shake the unease. His house, he said, was just up the street. "Come on," he urged gently. "It's right there." So we followed. The man's pace quickened as he led us, the stroller wheels rattling softly over cracks in the sidewalk. I noticed then how empty the neighborhood had become. The porch lights were mostly out, the streets hollow, the laughter of children gone. He asked questions as we walked. "Where are you boys from? What school do you go to?" His tone was casual, but I felt like each question probed too deep. Sean, a year older, answered confidently. I kept quiet, my eyes darting to the covered stroller. Every so often the man leaned down, speaking in a high sing-song voice to his supposed daughter. "Almost home, sweetheart. Just a little longer." He'd straighten up again, smiling at us as though we were all part of some cozy family outing. But the longer we followed, the tighter the knot in my chest became. I glanced at Sean, hoping to see hesitation, but his eyes were on the dangling bag of candy. Finally, the man stopped at a small, dimly lit house. The lawn was overgrown, the porch light weak and yellow. He guided the stroller up the walkway, jingling keys in his pocket. "Here we are," he said, unlocking the door. He pushed the stroller inside first, and looked back at us. "Come on in, boys. I'll get the bags of candy." Sean stepped forward without hesitation. My feet stuck to the concrete. Something screamed inside me, "Don't go in." The house smelled stale, like dust and something sour. The stroller sat only a few feet away. Sean looked at it, then at me. His expression shifted, curiosity mixing with unease. He whispered, "Why would he leave the candy so far away?" I didn't answer. I wanted to leave, but Sean took a step forward. He reached out and slowly lifted the canopy covering the stroller. What he saw made the blood drain from his face. His eyes widened, and he snapped the cover back down. He stumbled backward, grabbed my arm, and whispered urgently, "We need to go. Now." Before I could ask why, he bolted for the door. Instinct kicked in, and I followed, our heavy pillowcases banging against our legs as we tore down the walkway. Behind us, I thought I heard movement-fast footsteps, maybe a voice, but I didn't look back. We ran until the house was out of sight, our lungs burning. Only when we slowed did I dare to ask, "What did you see?" Sean shook his head, pale and trembling. "Not a baby," he muttered. It wasn't a baby. We didn't stop running until the stroller man's house was well behind us. The street was empty, eerily quiet except for our ragged breathing and the rustle of fallen leaves. My hands shook as I clutched the pillowcase, the candy inside forgotten. Sean's eyes darted around nervously, his usual bravado replaced with raw fear. That's when we heard her voice. "Hey, excuse me." A woman came running toward us, breathless and wide-eyed. "Do you boys know that man?" she asked urgently. Sean, still catching his breath, spilled everything. "He offered us candy," he admitted, "but the baby in the stroller, he didn't have one." The woman's expression hardened. "I saw him," she said, nodding toward where we had come from. "He doesn't have a child. He's been going around with that fake stroller." She guided us to her car, ensuring we were safely inside before driving each of us home. When we got back, I walked through the front door, my stomach still tight with fear. My mom's face went pale the moment she saw me. "What happened?" she demanded, and I recounted every detail: the man, the stroller, the fake baby, our flight from the house. She listened, silent, growing more distraught with every word. She sent me to my room while she and my dad called the police. I never saw Sean in quite the same way again. At school, we were cordial, but something had shifted between us. The innocence of our friendship had been tainted by that night. And for me, Halloween was forever changed. I was assigned to hand out candy the following year, and I remember watching from the window, every shadow making my stomach twist, every laugh of the neighborhood kids sounding slightly sinister. Even now, years later, the memory is vivid. That night taught me about danger lurking behind seemingly harmless facades, the way adults can manipulate trust, and the razor-thin line between curiosity and fear. I often think about that man, where he might be now, and how close we had been to a far darker outcome. The pillowcases of candy, the thrill of freedom, the shadowed streets, all of it now carries a chill beneath the sweetness. And while I've grown older and braver, I know some part of me will always flinch at the sight of a stroller in the dark. The pillowcases of candy, the thrill of freedom, the shadowed streets, all of it now carries a chill beneath the sweetness. Halloween was never just a night of fun again. The memory lingered, a reminder of the thin line between innocence and danger, curiosity and fear, childhood and the adult world that waits beyond it.